My name is Dr. Megan Pollock. I am an engineer, educator, entrepreneur, and a consultant for the National Alliance for Partnerships and Equity. In this webinar, I'm going to share with you some tips and strategies for planning an inclusive manufacturing day. But first, you might be wondering, what on earth is a manufacturing day? Well, Manufacturing Day, sometimes called MFG Day for short, it's an annual event held on the first Friday in October that helps show the reality and future of modern manufacturing careers. The objective of MFG Day is to encourage companies and institutions to open their doors to the community to build excitement about manufacturing careers. As of a 2022 report, manufacturers in the United States account for 10.7% of the total output in the country, employing 8.41% of the total workforce. However, a 2021 study found that 2.1 million manufacturing jobs could go unfilled by 2030. Despite the demand and opportunity, women, Black, Hispanic, Indigenous people disproportionately enter into and persist within the manufacturing industries. For the nation as a whole, the labor force participation rate for women was 56.8% in 2022. However, in the manufacturing industry, women represent only 29.3%. However, when you disaggregate between durable and non-durable goods manufacturing, we see variations and disparities among race and gender. The research is clear. There are numerous root causes, such as the ones described in this talk, to explain the systematic exclusion and disparities of traditionally marginalized populations in career and technical education, sometimes we call it CTE, and science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM, and ultimately in manufacturing. With MFG Day meant to excite the local communities about careers, we hope you want to excite everyone. In this talk, we will focus on students. So to excite every kind of student, we must thoughtfully design an experience that is inclusive and connects to students' heads, hearts, and hands. As you design your day, consider the following research-based prompts to encourage students to imagine the possibilities for a future in manufacturing. So to shorten here, we want you to help you remember the three prompts. Always keep in mind the 3H rule. So our goal is to connect to students' heads, their hearts, and their hands. So let me tell you how. First step is connecting to students' heads. Self-efficacy answers the question, can I do this? It is the belief that one can accomplish a specific task. Studies have found that self-efficacy is one of the most influential sources to choosing a career in STEM for girls. It might be easy to problematize students for a lack of self-efficacy, but external factors deeply influence self-efficacy. Students from traditionally marginalized and excluded populations often have low self-efficacy regarding careers in CTE or STEM because of internalized oppressions. These are the ideologies, the interpersonal, and the institutional policies and practices that reinforce exclusion and discourage participation. There are 4 primary sources of self-efficacy: mastery experiences, vicarious experiences, social persuasion, and physiological cues. And the following strategies will help you address the first 3 sources. So if you want to help super boost your events to build self-efficacy and show students they can do it, here's how. First is we want to help connect students to what they already know and can do. Brain science and learning theory validate this importance. When students connect to previous mastery experiences, it boosts confidence that they can potentially find success in manufacturing. Next is to provide and train a diverse group of role models and hosts who work closely with the students throughout the event. The best role models have a perceived similarity such as gender, race, or origin, credibility, they are enthusiastic, and demonstrate competence through effort. And the last strategy here is to reduce stereotype threat. Stereotype threat is the risk of confirming a negative stereotype about one's group. For example, if there is a stereotype that women don't go into manufacturing because of preconceived notions, then girls and women can subconsciously carry a cognitive burden or a distraction that's telling them that they don't belong and that they need to work extra hard to fit in and prove that they do belong. Next is the heart, answering the question, do I want to do it? The manufacturing industry is challenged to help students and the general public understand what manufacturing is and what manufacturers do. a stubborn mentality that manufacturing is not for everyone, perhaps especially not for those who do not fit the standard mold or align with stale stereotypes, complicates the challenge. Plus, current perceptions and messages that imply that manufacturing is dirty, dangerous, and demeaning, it's not true, okay? So to motivate students to pursue manufacturing and persist through challenges, we must start with an inspiring hook, or as Simon Sinek says, start with why. Ultimately, the messaging matters. To sustain the U.S. capacity for technological innovation and to attract young people to careers in engineering, the National Academy of Engineering, the NAE, they commissioned a study to identify and test the ability of positive messages about engineering to improve the public's understanding of it. The study found that we must rebrand engineers to appeal to different audiences, especially teenage girls. By changing the conversation from an emphasis on math and science to the value that STEM has on society, we can attract more diverse students to these disciplines, and that includes manufacturing. So, therefore, when we talk to students about manufacturing careers, we must use the positive messaging that was out of an NAE report to guide our conversations, to increase students' awareness of opportunities and spark their interest in manufacturing careers. So the messages here, they're a modified version of the NAE study results, customized to describe manufacturing professionals and manufacturing careers. So the first message we want to make sure that we're using is that manufacturers make a world of difference and help shape the future. The second key message is that manufacturing is essential to our health, our happiness, and safety. And the third key message is that manufacturers are creative and collaborative problem solvers. Through concerted efforts to expose students to careers in manufacturing using attractive and appealing terminology, we can diminish negative perceptions of manufacturing. So, what can you do? Start with why. Focus on those key messages that help students see the impact and the importance of manufacturing on their lives. Wherever possible, use appealing messages that help students see why a career in manufacturing is meaningful and rewarding and starkly different than common perceptions and stereotypes. Help them visualize the potential pathways to a career in manufacturing and what their life might look like as a manufacturer. So finally is the hands, getting students to plead you to say, let me do it, right? So studies show that traditionally marginalized and excluded students who participate in project or problem-based learning, sometimes we call them PBL, they are more likely to succeed in these programs of study and potentially follow career paths in these fields. The key components of equity-focused PBL have the potential to help disrupt a cycle of inequity that often leads to marginalization and exclusion. And those are 1, promote student-centered learning, 2, cultivate an equitable team learning environment, and 3, create authentic, relevant learning context. When planning your manufacturing day events or activities, you want to incorporate elements of PBL into your design. That means simple tours, worksheets, or meaningless arts and crafts style activities are not ideal for appealing to students and getting them excited about manufacturing. You want to design activities that are accessible, relatable, and deeply engaging. So, what do? You encourage learning that revolves around the students, not just the subject or the teacher. How do you do this? Well, by sparking students' curiosity, giving them options to choose from, and providing the right support as they learn. This way, students take charge of their learning journey, making it more engaging and effective. Student-centered learning creates more equitable learning environments compared to content-driven learning because it allows students and instructors to adapt the learning to each student, resulting in an environment that is motivational, allows for greater intellectual development, and attracts a wider variety of students into a field. There are 2 key things to remember. First is student agency, and how do we stimulate that? So student agency refers to the amount of control or autonomy a student has in their learning environment. A high amount of student agency can empower students to choose how they learn, including the learning approach, the content studied, and how work is assessed. This means allowing students a choice of activities whenever possible. The next is to scaffold learning appropriately. Although students should guide their own learning, the process should not be overwhelming or outside of a student's current intellectual ability. Understanding and considering what a student can and cannot do and what they can do with guidance or help is important for ensuring student success and building their self-efficacy, particularly for those students who are typically underrepresented within STEM and manufacturing and CTE. Next is to facilitate equitable team learning environments. So this doesn't happen without intentional effort, planning, and monitoring. Whenever possible, ensure that student groups are demographically representative of their community and design activities that allow students to work together with relatable professionals towards a shared goal. It is also important that you and your volunteers actively work to reduce the ways in which gender and racial stereotypes play out in the learning environment. And then finally, create authentic, hands-on, real-world learning activities that highlight social impact and also relate to the students' lived experiences. Activities that are situated in an unfamiliar context for students will not be motivational, but activities that stem from a student's own culture, their identity, and their lived experiences will be engaging. For example, a long time ago, back in 2008, I presented 3 workshops entitled How to Fit a Ham Sandwich into Your iPod for 4th and 5th grade girls at the Sally Ride Science Festival in Dallas. This was an interactive lesson where participants learned about how engineers make transistors, what transistors have done for technology, and how those transistors relate to their lives, such as that make the then popular iPods work. So in this lesson, girls learned about how different kinds of engineers and a manufacturing process by working in teams to build a transistor using the components of a ham sandwich. Now, this was a modification of a previous lesson that was just taught to students on how to build a transistor without even context as to how it related to their lives. So by my goal of changing it to okay, it's not just a ham sandwich transistor. Now it's a ham sandwich fitting in your iPod. So that part sparked their interest. I'm curious how this might work. And then teaching them about the related careers and how to, the different kinds of engineers that do the kind of work. I was trying my very best to make it, as authentic and real world, even though we don't really put a ham sandwich in our iPod, but we do put transistors in our devices. So ultimately, manufacturing is more than widgets, gadgets, and assembly lines. It is also important to connect what you are doing in your activities to professional skills. Some people mistakenly call these soft skills, but they're professional skills. These are the things that they're already learning in school, like communication, collaboration, and teamwork. So in summary, as you plan your manufacturing day events for students, remember the research-based prompts to help students imagine the possibilities for a future in manufacturing. You're answering those questions. Can I do it? You're helping your students answer the questions. Can I do it? Do I want to do it? And let me do it. Follow the strategies outlined in this talk and in the other resources on our website to help you make your day one that students will never forget. And finally, don't forget to visit NAEP's website to download a free resource with a 1-page summary and a 3-page rubric to help you apply the strategies that I've gone over in this talk for an equitable and inclusive environment. In this tool, you'll be able to see the key elements that we want you to apply. And then the rubric is aligned to things that are inequitable and exclusive, whether it's performative in the status quo, or ultimately whether it is equitable and inclusive. Again, my name is Dr. Megan Pollock, and this work was funded by the Toyota USA Foundation. Thanks for listening, and let us know how your MFG day goes.